Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Israel's escalating its attacks on Gaza City and has issued orders to forcibly displace the city's entire population of nearly 1 million people. On Monday, Israeli planes dropped leaflets ordering Palestinians to head to Al-Mawasi, a coastal strip of barren land Israel's designated as a so-called humanitarian zone, despite frequent deadly attacks on the area. Israel's latest forced evacuation order comes as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu boasts of blowing up high-rise buildings across Gaza City and warns of even more deadly attacks.
All this is only an introduction, opening act to the powerful main act, which is a ground maneuver of our forces who are now assembling and organizing into Gaza City. And this is why I say to the residents of Gaza, I take this opportunity, listen carefully, you have been warned, leave now.
Israel's defense minister says his forces have leveled 30 major buildings across Gaza City and threatened to bring more down. Among the high-rises bombed to rubble is the Al Roya Tower, which housed the Palestinian Center for Human Rights. This is a displaced Palestinian mother whose family was sheltering in a tent near a Gaza high-rise that was blown up Monday.
I am afraid for my children, I am afraid for myself, and I'm afraid for those around me. The Israelis have no mercy. Whatever they say, they carry out. It's not that they are only trying to scare us or make us leave. They are actually killing us, burning us. Around 4 days ago, they burned children in a tent, and here we are, next to the towers. We live here, which means that shrapnel could have hit us.
Gaza health officials say Israeli attacks since dawn have killed at least 35 Palestinians, including children and people seeking food. Meanwhile, health officials report 6 more Palestinians died of starvation over the past 24 hours due to Israel's blockade. In the occupied West Bank, Israeli forces carried out violent raids Monday that killed 2 14-year-old Palestinian boys were killed by Israeli fire in the Jenin refugee camp. The stepped-up raids follow Monday's shooting attack in occupied East Jerusalem that left 6 Israelis dead and 12 others wounded. In the wake of that attack, Israel's far-right finance minister Bezalel Smotrich said the villages that the 2 Palestinian attackers came from should, quote, become like Rafah and Beit Hanun, a reference to cities in Gaza reduced to rubble by Israel. On Monday, Israeli forces released footage of engineers preparing to destroy the homes of the alleged gunmen, part of a policy of collective punishment often deployed by Israel against the families of Palestinians accused of crimes. In Tunisia, activists with the global Samud Flotilla say one of their main boats preparing to bring humanitarian aid to Gaza was attacked by a drone overnight Monday. Journalist Yusuf Omar was on the deck of the ship when the apparent bombing occurred.
Guys, I was sleeping right here on this mattress, and I hear this explosion and a big ball of flames, like burning the sides of your face. And then down here, you can see exactly what has happened. It landed here. The drone, it landed here, and it just, a big explosion happened right next to our diesel tanker.
Tunisia's National Guard disputed the activist's account of the explosion, saying the fire appeared to have started in a life jacket caused by a cigarette butt or a lighter. That claim directly contradicted by surveillance video showing a trail of fire falling into the ship and exploding into flames. This is Yasmin Ajar, a member of the global Samud Flotilla.
They have bombed a boat once again with civilians on it in Tunisian territory. This is an attack against Gaza because they don't want us there. So we need you to mobilize. Let's not stay quiet.
In Germany, 5 members of the direct action group Palestine Action Monday broke into a weapons factory operated by Elbit Systems, a major supplier to Israel's military. Video released by Palestine Action shows an activist using a crowbar to pry open a door. The activists are then seen smashing equipment and spraying, painting graffiti, denouncing Israel's assault on Gaza. Nobody was injured during the group's acts of sabotage, and people ultimately arrested all five. Police arrested all five without resistance. Palestine Action later published a video by a member claiming responsibility.
My name is Leandra, and you are watching this video because last night I took action against Elbit Systems in Ulm, Germany. This criminal corporation make millions of dollars year after year, especially since 2014, out of the extermination of the indigenous people of Palestine and the occupation of their land. Most of the drones bombing the hell out of Gaza are being made by Elbit Systems. The surveillance systems of the walls that made Gaza an open-air prison and the humanitarian aid blockade possible are made by Elbit Systems.
The action by Palestine Action Germany came after British police arrested nearly 900 people Saturday at a protest in London against the UK government's ban on Palestine Action under the Terrorism Act. On Monday, the artist Banksy took credit for a mural that appeared on the Royal Courts of Justice depicting a British judge in a wig using a gavel to attack a man lying on the ground and holding a sign spattered in blood. Guards later covered the mural in black plastic. Authorities say it will be removed. Officials in Lebanon say at least 5 people were killed and 5 others wounded Monday as Israeli warplanes struck parts of the eastern Bekaa Valley. It's Israel's latest violation of a ceasefire deal signed last November. Separately, Syrian media reports Israel's Air Force bombed targets in Homs in central Syria, as well as the coastal city of Latakia and the historic city of Palmyra. Syria's foreign ministry called Israel's latest strikes a blatant infringement of Syrian sovereignty and a threat to regional stability. Meanwhile, Yemen's Houthis have claimed responsibility for a drone attack on an airport near the Israeli Red Sea city of Eilat. 2 people were injured in the attack, which follows Israeli strikes in late August that killed the Houthi prime minister and other top officials in Sana'a. In Nepal, the Prime Minister, KP Sharma Oli, has resigned amidst anti-corruption demonstrations that continue to roil Nepal. At least 19 people were killed and over 100 injured Monday as authorities cracked down on the protests, with police firing rubber-coated bullets and tear gas at protesters trying to storm the parliament in Kathmandu. Organizers dubbed the protests demonstrations by Gen Z, as young people take to the streets to condemn government corruption and a ban on social media platforms.
Every corruption in the country, from the local level to federal level, all the Nepalese citizens are fed up of corruption. Every youth are going outside the country, so we want to protect our youth and make the country's economy better. For that, we need a new youth, new power, and new politicians who are well educated to move the country forward.
The Trump administration's asking the Supreme Court for an emergency order to allow it to freeze $4 billion in foreign aid that was already allocated by Congress. For the first time in nearly half a century, President Trump's relying on the Impoundment Control Act, which gives the president the authority to request the cancellation of funds approved by Congress. This follows a federal judge's ruling last week that the administration's required to spend the funds. A study by the Lancet Medical Journal found that foreign aid programs funded by USAID over the past 2 decades have helped prevent more than 91 million deaths globally, including the deaths of 30 million children. The Supreme Court's paused a federal judge's ruling that barred federal agents from making immigration stops and profiling people based on their appearance or the languages they speak, while the Trump administration appeals the case. Attorney General Pam Bondi praised Monday's 6-3 ruling by the court's right-wing majority, writing on X, quote, "Now ICE can continue carrying out roving patrols in California without judicial micromanagement," unquote. Justices did not state their reasons for overturning the lower court's ruling. In a dissenting opinion, Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote, quote, "We should not have to live in a country where the government can seize anyone who looks Latino, speaks Spanish, and appears to work a low-wage job," she wrote. Los Angeles city officials and immigrant rights groups condemn the Supreme Court's ruling. Armando Gudino is director of the Los Angeles Worker Center.
By siding with the Trump administration, this court's majority has revealed itself as highly prejudicial and has further empowered authoritarianism in this country. Immigration agents are now being given the power to profile, stop, detain, and arrest people because of the color of their skin, the language they speak, or the work that they do. In doing so, they have effectively legalized racial profiling and, by extension, racial discrimination.
The Department of Homeland Security says it's begun Operation Midway Blitz, a stepped-up mass deportation campaign spearheaded by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Monday's announcement came just 2 days after President Trump declared, quote, "Chicago about to find out why it's called the Department of War," unquote, in a social media post evoking the 1979 film Apocalypse Now and the Vietnam War. Trump also wrote, "I love the smell of deportations in the morning," a reference to one of the most infamous lines in the film, "I love the smell of napalm in the morning." We'll have more on Trump's threats against Chicago and Los Angeles later in the broadcast, as well as the references to Apocalypse Now with the Pulitzer Prize-winning Vietnamese-American author Viet Thanh Nguyen. A prominent nonviolent activist from Moroccan-occupied Western Sahara has been detained by federal immigration officers. Jamal Fadel was seized by masked ICE agents at Manhattan's notorious federal building at 26 Federal Plaza on August 25th after a routine immigration hearing, an arrest that was caught on video.
Stand back! Stand back! Move back! This is the freedom. I'm coming to my process immigration.
What country are you from?
I'm from Western Sahara.
Jamal Fadel is from the occupied city of Boujdour in Western Sahara. He's been protesting nonviolently against Morocco's occupation since he was a high school student and was threatened by Moroccan authorities so many times that he left to seek political asylum in the United States. He's currently being held by ICE at the Moshannon Valley Processing Center in Pennsylvania. His attorney expects ICE will move for an expedited removal hearing. If deported to Morocco, Fadel faces lengthy imprisonment, torture, or worse. In a speech at the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. Monday, President Trump downplayed the seriousness of domestic violence while claiming crime is down after he deployed National Guard troops to the District of Columbia.
And much lesser things that take place in the home they call crime. You know, they'll do anything they can to find something. If a man has a little fight with the wife, they say this was a crime, see? So now I can't claim 100%. But we are a safe city.
Trump's downplaying of domestic violence at the Museum of the Bible came as the House Oversight Committee released a birthday note with a sexually suggestive drawing signed allegedly by Donald Trump to sex offender Jeffrey Epstein back in 2003. The committee had subpoenaed Epstein's estate for the birthday book and other files. Despite the note containing his signature, the White House denied the letter was from Trump, saying he, quote, did not draw this picture and he did not sign it, unquote. A second page of the birthday book featured an image of Epstein holding a large check. Democratic lawmakers said the photo showed Epstein and a longtime Mar-a-Lago member joking about selling a, quote, fully depreciated woman to Donald Trump for $22,500. This follows a request by the Justice Department to a federal judge to reject NBC News' request to unseal the names of two Epstein associates who both received wire payments from Epstein back in 2018. As part of his non-prosecution plea deal with federal prosecutors in Florida, Epstein helped ensure His associates would not be prosecuted. Meanwhile, a New York Times investigation has found that J.P. Morgan Chase spent years bankrolling Epstein and ignored red flags and suspicious activity. We'll have more on this story later in the broadcast with the New York Times reporter who exposed this story. And a federal appeals court has rejected President Trump's attempt to overturn his $83.3 million verdict for defaming the writer E. Jean Carroll. In their unanimous opinion, the judges wrote, quote, "The jury's duly rendered damages awards were reasonable in light of the extraordinary and egregious facts of this case," unquote. This comes as President Trump and his lawyers said that they intend to ask the Supreme Court to review the jury's $5 million verdict that he sexually abused E. Jean Carroll. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to make sure you never miss a video. And for more of our audience-supported journalism, go to democracynow.org, where you can download our news app, sign up for our newsletter, subscribe to the daily podcast, and so much more.